Well, you literally pay people to be single mothers. In fact, they even gave African Americans a bonus for being single mothers as opposed to simply being a poor family, incentivizing black women to kick the father of their children out of the home.
I want to hear how you think this chart proves that relationship. I just want to hear that.
All right, so you see the chart before welfare, how the single motherhood rate is low, and then after welfare it goes up.
Okay.
That's called a causal relationship.
So that's not called a causal relationship. That's just a relationship between two variables. You have to prove the cause, right? You can't just link two things and say this caused that. That's not how any of this works, right?
All right, so the government paid women to kick the father of their children out of their home and become a single mother because they were getting more money from the government than if they were simply a poor family.
Do you think that anybody has made the decision to divorce a father and kick him out so that they can live off of food stamps?
That literally happened in the 60s because that was the policy, and you saw black families get destroyed.
Okay, do you have like an NBER study? Do you have like any type of like study that actually shows that people are making decisions to get divorced and to break up their families to live off of food stamps? A chart doesn't establish that.
This chart doesn't. I don't have studies off the top of my head. You can, but
okay. Well, you're the one that brought the chart. So if you brought the chart, can you tell me where this chart comes from?
No.
You're just machine gunning at like garbage data that proves nothing. You're giving me a relationship between two variables. This does not say what you think it says. You have no idea, right?
I absolutely do, because you could look it up. This is not even like hidden secret knowledge. You got to like have a peer-reviewed study that, okay, I don't have a peer-reviewed study. I just here's what happened before, then this happened, and then this was the result. You can be like, oh, yeah, that doesn't prove it to my satisfaction. Fair enough. I can't prove anything to your satisfaction.
Okay, it's not about no. Don't act like I have unreasonable standards. I'm just showing that you have nothing. You have two variables. You don't even have a hypothesis, right? That's like a starting point to a thought.
Oh, a chart is a visual representation.
Yeah, so but you don't know if it's the you could have the horse.
Let me finish this point, though.
Okay, yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, no, this isn't like secret knowledge. Like the government, this is well documented. This isn't even like controversial.
Well, it's just not true. What you're saying is not true. Like, for instance, here's a question. Okay. What do you think is more successful? A family with the father in the home or a family with welfare?
All things being equal, the father with the home.
Okay, here's a question. Which households do you think make more money? Two-parent households or one mom that's getting welfare?
Oh, I have a chart for that. Hold on. I have a legit chart for that. Like that exact thing. So, and it actually I think it even has the sources linked in it. So this is called the welfare cliff. All right. Okay. I don't know if I can see if I can read that. Okay, the source is looks like a Pennsylvania government site, Secretary of Public Welfare. Anyway, so the welfare cliff, the blue ramp is income. So as income rises, obviously your income rises. But then you have welfare programs that you lose access to as your income rises. Your actual standard of living goes down. So that's right here, a single mom.
How can your standard of living go down?
Because you lose access to the welfare. Because and I've personally seen that people will refuse a pay raise because they'll lose their welfare.
Okay, so my understanding is most welfare is going to step off. It's not just going to drop off immediately.
Okay, so this is, right here, you have the dollar amounts right there, and you have the name of the program right there.
I can't. So can you link me your chart? I guess I can't read this, but I'm familiar with, for instance, for the earned income tax credit, that's going to slide off as you earn more money. It's never going to be the case that I think a raise is going to reduce, unless there are some other forms of welfare that I'm not familiar with. Unless you can tell me.
No. Well, this one. So the big ones were MA, which I'm not 100% sure what that stands for, and I don't know if that's something assistance. I'm sure. CHIP
that's kind of important, right? What is MA?
Well, it's not that significant. It looks like it drops off pretty quickly once you're out of dire poverty. It might just be straight up cash. I don't know. But CHIP and childcare are the big ones.
Okay. So number one, Can you give me a link to this graph? I'm just curious. And then number two, my question was which families are making more money? Single moms on welfare or a family with a mother and father in the household?
Well, a single mother who qualifies for these programs, she would actually be better off earning $29,000 because of welfare than earning $69,000 after taxes. She'd actually have a higher equivalent income.
This is assuming that they have a child, correct?
Right, single mother,
right.
Kind of implied.
Single mother. So that's an important one. Okay, hold on. Somebody linked me this actual graph, so I can actually read this. By the way, but the question I had for you, I'll ask it again. I don't think you have an answer. Is do you think that households are more successful with single mothers earning welfare, or with a mother and father in the household? I think all of us know that households with a mother and a father are probably more successful financially, and they're probably more successful with a whole host of other outcomes too. So the idea that people would choose to kick the fathers out of the household to collect welfare, I would just be really curious if there's like a source on that anywhere.
I've heard it from Thomas Sowell and other other
books. Is he citing like any economic research? National Bureau, NBR is usually a journal that might be published in, or any type of family. If it's so ubiquitously known, like there should be like a plethora of data on this, not just a chart, right? So the answer is no. You have no data to support that assertion. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
Well, Thomas Sowell and other black economists have cited this. I don't have their sources on hand. However, the thing is, what you're saying is true. Having a mother and a father raising their family together is going to like drastically increase their long-term income and benefits. But I can get a pay bump if I'm a single mom. They're going to choose that route. So
yeah, but you can't just say that. You have nothing to prove that, right? Because I'm going to reject that. I'm going to say, I don't think people are saying like, sorry, honey, like you need to leave and I'm going to just live as a single mom in poverty because I'm getting better welfare. I don't think human beings are ever making that choice. That's why I'm curious if you can show that like, like we can see here that like there are actually mothers that are choosing to live this lifestyle rather than they're collecting welfare because they happen to be single mothers, right? That's a totally different thing. You're putting the cart before the horse.
Well, here's the welfare cliff again, showing people do choose to stay behind because their actual lifestyle will go down if their income goes up, which includes if they have a two-parent household, they would lose access to their benefits if them and their husband both worked because they make too much money. Happens all the time. Now
you can't just say happens all the time when you haven't shown it. You haven't shown that.
You haven't demonstrated. Chat. You haven't demonstrated. Chat. Come on. You haven't demonstrated a point.
I don't have a source. I'm just quoting I'm paraphrasing Thomas Sowell. This was back before the welfare, and he used to walk through Harlem, and he wasn't worried about anything.
But wasn't Harlem dangerous before?
Single mom.
Wrong!
Harlem.
It was a nature preserve for bunny rabbits. When
single mom
came along, they tore down the country clubs and put up housing projects.
Blame me.
And then flash forward a couple decades, I think like 12 years, not even 2 decades.
Okay, so I'm searching for this because I'd like to get like an actual answer. So here is something called, this is the Foundation for Government Accountability, and this talks about the theory of the welfare cliff. Apparently very, very few people that are on welfare are even near this cliff. So the idea that they're like just barely avoiding more work because they're going to lose out on a whole bunch of stuff doesn't seem to be the case. So for instance, one of the sources in here is 13 million people are on welfare, 250,000 are within 10 percentage points of the eligibility limit for the welfare cliff. But the idea that there are all of these people that are just working just barely enough to min-max, that are like welfare maxing, like I said, I would need to see like at least one thing that actually says that, rather than you just showing me like theoretical welfare cliffs for somebody that's on 7 different types of welfare making a certain type of amount of money. Like this.
All right. So again, I have the charts, but if it's fine. My evidence isn't good enough for you.
Well, hold on. Do you really not understand? Or just listen, intelligent person to intelligent person.
I accuse you of capping.
A chart, there's a reason why, or I'm curious, what do you think? When we publish like research in journals, why do people publish more than just a chart? Have you ever in your life seen a study that's just a chart?
Well, I'm using the chart as a visual representation. I don't want to have a whole study where I go paragraph by paragraph and there's like 10 pages of citations. I understand if that's what you require.
Can you
then
okay when
that's
you see
fine.
when you read like a study on economics, when a chart exists and there are a couple of variables, can you talk to me about like how you think they choose the variables for the chart, or why they have a chart in a study? Like, do you have any idea? Or
You usually have an X and a Y axis, and the X tracks something and the Y tracks something, and then maybe there's a time, and then things happen, and the X and the Y axis react over time, and there's a relationship, and usually that relationship is described in the study. And there's usually citations to like official census data and so on and so forth. I don't have that data in front of me.
okay, sure, but I'm just saying that
didn't-
so something that would be more compelling is if instead of a bunch of charts, what you could do is just copy paste a bunch of abstracts. Instead of saying like, well, here's a chart for a welfare cliff, which we know exists. We know welfare cliffs exist. You're claiming that people are welfare maxing their income. That needs a study, not just a chart.
No, we're like 3 degrees away from the original question where I'm trying to demonstrate that
You haven't demonstrated.
we'll do some kind of magician thing and everything will be fine. But no, when you print money, you cause inflation. You go into hyperinflation. Before the inflation that happened, there won't be any inflation. Look, there hasn't been inflation in the last 10 years. Now it's slowly going away. We're not going to go back to like 2019 prices. The people who control the spending, which is the Congress, they should be elected by those who pay into the system.
Like,
Pieces
let's
of
say,
paper.
why wouldn't wealthy people just vote to get more benefits for themselves? Why do you think they're immune to this problem?
Oh, so if they tried to and they weren't, so if they voted themselves a bunch of benefits, they wouldn't be net taxpayers anymore, and they would disenfranchise themselves. So it's a self-repairing system. If people try to abuse the system to give themselves stuff, they can't vote anymore. They basically disenfranchise themselves, and the people left can basically repeal that whatever, and then everything goes back. So you basically, people also, if you're poor but voting is super important to you, you just don't have to accept government aid, and then you're a net taxpayer, even if you're low income, if you're willing to work hard and whatever. But it's all about being a net taxpayer. So the people who want to, if voting's super important, they can just be a net taxpayer, even if it's only $1. They're a net taxpayer. Congratulations. And if you try to abuse the system and vote yourself more stuff, now that you can vote, well, now you're not a net taxpayer anymore. You can't vote anymore. So unlike other systems, it actually has like a dynamic kind of like a mobility when it comes to the quote unquote ruling class, because anyone can do it. You just have to be a net taxpayer. I mean, what's wrong with that? Is that really such a bad thing? You're basically getting stuff and you don't have to pay for it. And so this guy gets to put a crown on and a robe and pretend he's king, but he's paying for everything that's benefiting you. And if he stops doing that, then you're going to get your franchise back and you're going to be able to change the system.
Wow. Okay. Sounds based.
Well, but again, here I have one more chart, and then I'll shut up because my charts are very unimpressive. I do have my sources listed for this one though. So here we have. Oh gosh, it's so small. That's what she said, right? All right. So here's my sources. Congressional Budget Office, distribution of household income and federal taxes, 2013 tables 1, 2, and 3, and then from 2016 supplemental data table 3. And so you can see here we have. Let me blow this up. I know it's a little hard to read. The vast majority of people just want to be taken care of. As long as the government isn't screwing them hard in butt, they don't really care who the president is or which party's in power, as long as their life is good.
Destiny, what's your response to that?
I truly don't even know how to engage. Generally, I didn't know who this person was in advance, but usually when people are arguing with charts, you know that they don't have like the prerequisite knowledge or education to have an understanding of the topic they're arguing about, so I usually just avoid those conversations completely. I know that sounds dismissive, but like when he's showing me a chart of like these are the bad programs that screw over people, and he doesn't even know what like half the programs on the chart that he's showing me is, he doesn't know the study they're coming from, and he thinks that like 2 variables in a graph prove a causal relationship. Like the engagement with all these topics, it just sounds like you watched a YouTuber or read a thing, and then like that's like your entire opinion. I don't know how you could come to a debate like this, like eager to throw out a whole bunch of like information, and you don't have a single study. That's astounding to me. I would be embarrassed and mortified if I went into a data-driven argument and all I had were like Discord charts. But you don't even realize why that's embarrassing. So like I don't even know how I would try to talk like macro econ with somebody citing me things that people said in the 1700s. it sounds really mean. I'm sorry. I'm kind of intentionally being mean, but like, yeah, almost nothing you're saying is true. Like I've already like addressed some of it, but like, like you don't even realize why what you're saying isn't true. So I don't know how to say it. Like I'll ask the one fundamental question I asked earlier. Can you show me any evidence whatsoever that people are min-maxing welfare? But then you're pointing to a chart. I don't know what to say to that. That's not how that works. That's not how any of that works, right? So like, here's an example. Like I might have like I might have I might do a study where I say what is the normal attainment of an employee in their work life, and I might be able to show that an employee will work and they earn this much money, but I might have the control might be a normal employee that makes no welfare, and then I show that against like 5 or 6 other types of workers on different types of welfare, and I might show you can look at the employee behavior. Once they approach these cliffs, they tend to either reduce the amount of hours they work, or they tend to make choices that are adverse to future earning potentials. And I might be able to explain that by the fact that they're on a certain type of welfare. That type of research would go, oh, holy shit, people are actually min-maxing welfare. But instead, you just show me a chart and you go, well, look at this welfare cliff. Everybody knows those exist. Nobody makes the claim that it's influencing workers' choices. And then you say, well, I think moms are kicking dads out of the household so that they can min-max their welfare, but you have no data or evidence for that whatsoever. I could present to you 15 other hypotheses for why that happens. I could say that one, the chart you're showing me is just going by single mothers. It's not, or by married mothers or unmarried mothers. It might be the fact that more people are living together, but they're just unmarried because shotgun weddings are a lot less popular than they were in the 60s and 70s. It might be that there are other things causing single motherhood, which would cause them to get welfare, not the other way around, that they're choosing welfare so they become single mothers. But again, this would take like research. You have the positive argument here. I guess like if you wanted me to, like we can spend, if you want, we can spend 10 or 15 minutes like researching right now if you want to. I could show you like some good things to type into Google, but one chart showing the relationship between 2 variables is not going to give you a causal relationship between something as complicated as why do people choose the types of employment they choose or choose the types of family structures they do. If you want to do that research right now, I would be happy to do it with you. Like it might be a fun experiment, but I don't know how you can expect to show a chart and then say that, well, in the 1700s this happened, and like that's an argument. Like,
well, but again, here I have one more chart, and then I'll shut up because
one more chart.
Right. So this is why I don't like debates, and nothing personal against you. They just reject my evidence, and they find flaws with all my sources. This source is from the 90s. This source, the group size is too small, and they just. So find me more evidence. And there was a time, I don't remember what year this was. I bit. And I'm like, okay, I will keep finding evidence. Every time I found evidence, the guy found a reason to dismiss it. And I think after several hours, he just stopped replying. And I just thought this is a giant waste of my time.
Wait, so because you've debated some people that are bad faith in the past, you've decided to become bad faith? That's what I'm hearing.
It's like the charts are visual representation. This isn't that hard. Like you can be like, well, there's plenty of reasons why the single motherhood rate skyrocketed after the welfare state. It couldn't possibly be that, paying people to be single mothers incentivized the creation of single mothers. That's a myth. Where's your sources? That's fine. I don't even I'll just concede the entire argument. Welfare it just happens. Who knows why it happens? It just happens.
I don't understand why I'm not asking for 50 million. I'm just asking for a single one. A graph is never. Yeah. Okay. But you brought graphs, so why not just get one abstract of one study, like just a single abstract?
Right. Well, if I had the sources of the graph, which I could dig them up, and there's old videos where I used to cite my sources, but it's just I don't have it on me, and frankly, if I had it and I gave them to you. Maybe you'd read it like, oh, okay, I can see this is valid and the data checks out.
Just what
you might
said.
say, well, I don't like this study. I don't like this study. Find a better one.
Does it not? Do you not feel a little bit embarrassed that you're sourcing me a graph and you don't even know what study it comes from, or if it even comes from a study? Because one of the graphs you sourced me didn't come from a study. It was just like a web page talking about welfare cliffs. That's not a study, and it had nothing to do with your assertion that welfare cliffs are causing people to choose to be single moms. Right? Like if I'm going to source a graph, like maybe I want to talk about like I think black people get pulled over more than white people. I might source a graph from the nature study showing that at nighttime, the rates of people getting pulled over are similar. I might show that graph, but if somebody says, well, tell me about that graph, well, I'd be able to tell you, well, this is how they did the study. They used a very clever trick with daylight savings time in order to control for like work environments and to make sure that, right, I would be able to talk about it. I wouldn't just say like, here's a graph. and then that's it, right? Like you don't even know the studies that these are coming from. So that tells me you haven't done any research. You're just going on a website that's saying that like here, like www.singlemomsarehomeless-because-of-this-reason.com, and then you're just copy pasting graphs. Otherwise, you would be able to tell me, oh, I took this graph from this study, or at least like have an idea of where it came from. I'm not saying like it's the NBR paper published by blah blah blah, but just like at least an idea. But you have no idea whatsoever where any of your sources come from.
No, I've been. These are old charts I've had for years, and I just haven't updated them, and I don't have the sources on hand. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Okay, we can search for something right now if you want. We can do research right now. I'm curious. So like I could Google why are single motherhood rates so high, and we could see the types of answers that come up. We could do that if you want, and then we could go through and look. We can go on Google Scholar and look if you want, or because that would actually like get us. I could be wrong, by the way. You might be 100% correct. Like maybe I'll Google that and it says that welfare has incentivized single motherhood rates, and that's why. But I'm just saying you haven't even shown you're not even wrong. You haven't even given me enough information to say you're wrong. You haven't even put forth an argument.
Well, okay. So, I put forth the argument. I have the charts as a visual representation. I don't have the sources. I didn't prepare a list of studies. I didn't have all the citations. I made the case. You can be like that. You haven't proved anything. You haven't. Okay. All right.
Okay, well, then I Googled some stuff, so here's my counter, I guess. Okay. I just did this in 2 seconds. So, statistics about children in single-parent families. In the United States today, nearly 24 million children live in a single-parent family. This total, which has been rising for half a century, covers about 1 in every 3 kids across...
Can you share your screen so the audience can see?
Oh no, I'm posting it in a private chat there. I can't really share my screen. It's kind of complicated, but this total, which has been rising for half a century, covers about 1 in 3 kids across America. A number of long-term demographic trends have fueled this increase, including marrying later, which would, I guess, make sense, declining marriage rates, which also makes sense, and increasing divorce rates, and an uptick in babies born to single mothers. I don't see anything about welfare here. Maybe I can go to the next one. The unbelievable rise in single motherhood in America. This is a Washington Post article. This was published 8 years ago, but let's see. Control F, welfare. I don't see that.
Wow.
Let's see. More women are having their children later in life, or they're doing so in less traditional ways, before marriage, without marriage, or with unmarried partners. Single motherhood has grown so common. Half of all children.
If women are just for some unrelated reason choosing to be single mothers just because it's a new hip thing, then why are there so many welfare programs for single mothers? Why do we have all these institutions to make sure single mothers have all this money given to them from, like, in the form of the family court, all these welfare programs? It's not just 1 or 2. It's like the vast majority of all welfare programs go to women. Why do you think that is?
My guess is going to be, when you're asking that now, I don't have data. We could look this up if you want, but my guess is going to be the vast majority of welfare dollars go to women, because my guess is going to be the vast majority of welfare dollars are spent on childcare, and the vast majority of single parents are mothers. That's going to be my guess. Do you think I'm wrong on that?
Yeah.
We could look that up.
I think you're right.
Okay.
Yeah. So why are single motherhood rates? Why are women choosing to be single mothers after the welfare state when they were getting married? Before the welfare state, like, marriage rates were much higher prior to the welfare state. In fact, again, I don't have the source, but from memory, the young black marriage rate was higher in the 50s than the white young marriage rate.
I'm just Googling. I don't know the answers to this, but here's the thing. Until the 1970s, shotgun marriage was the norm in premarital sexual relations. The custom was succinctly stated by one San Francisco resident in the late 1960s. If a girl gets pregnant, you married her. There wasn't no choice, so I married her. Since 1969, however, the tradition of shotgun marriages has seriously eroded. And then there's a table that's linked. For whites in particular, the shotgun marriage rate began its decline at almost the same time as the reproductive technology shock. And the decline in shotgun marriages has contributed heavily to the rise in the out-of-wedlock birth rate for both white and black women. In fact, about 75% of the increase in the white out-of-wedlock first birth rate and about 60% of the black increase between 1965 and 1990 is directly attributable to the decline in shotgun marriage. If the shotgun marriage rate had remained steady from 1965 to 1990, white out-of-wedlock births would have risen only 25% as much as they have. Black out-of-wedlock births would have increased only 40% as much. So maybe it's people not doing the shotgun wedding thing as much when somebody gets pregnant?
Right, because, all right, so like before the welfare state, families took care of each other. Like when someone falls on hard times, when dad dies, mom lives with you. This happens in Asian countries to this day. It's basically culturally expected for the children to take care of their parents. But now we have Social Security. So now kids don't have to take care of their parents. There's no cultural expectation of them to take care of their parents. You used to have churches take care of the poor people. You used to have mutual aid societies that took care of communities. And the welfare state removed all that. No one cares about investing in families, churches, or communities because the government's going to take care of them. And now when people fall in hard times, they turn to the government.
I mean, you can still take care of like family and stuff. Social Security doesn't prohibit that. And again, most of Social Security is paid for by taxpayers. So I mean, we could get rid of Social Security and then what? We would just like, do you think that would be better? Like, do you think it'd be better if we got rid of Social Security? Do you think that'd be better than now mom and dad are retired and they have no? Okay.
Yes, and I'll explain why. I don't have a study though. Just be prepared. But when in countries that don't have these welfare states, like in Asia, where it's culturally
Asia is
expected
not a country, to be clear. But go ahead.
In continents like Asia, full of countries full of Asian people, where it's culturally expected for the